I'm Nick Snow, watching Government for Oil and Gas Journal in Washington, D.C. It was only fair. The White House said a bill approving the Keystone XL crude oil pipeline's construction would get a chilly reception if it reached President Barack Obama's desk. Congressional Republicans were equally frosty toward the administration's announced steps to curb methane emissions from oil and gas operations. U.S. Senator James M. Inhofe, a Republican from Oklahoma, who became chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee once the 114th Congress was sworn in, called the methane moves, quote, a mandate designed to stifle our domestic energy industries, despite the successful voluntary steps made by U.S. oil and gas companies to reduce methane emissions, end quote. He warned that the administration's moves, which were announced January 14th, quote, will not only increase the cost to do business in America, but it will ultimately limit our nation's ability to become fully energy independent, end quote. Inhofe said the announcement failed to provide sufficient benefits to justify the costs. The Obama administration is unwilling to streamline existing regulatory hurdles on pipeline infrastructure as a means to reduce emissions, and instead is expanding its inefficient and complicated bureaucracy, he declared. U.S. House Energy and Commerce Committee leaders also criticized the administration's moves. Quote, studies show that while our energy production has significantly increased, methane emissions have continued to decline, end quote. Committee Chairman Fred Upton, a Republican from Michigan, and Energy and Power Subcommittee Chairman Ed Whitfield, a Republican from Kentucky, jointly said, this is something that should be celebrated, not bound by new red tape. Success has come from new efficiencies resulting from technology and innovation, a commitment to continue enhancing safety and greater permitting certainty, they maintained. Left unsaid was how much of this occurred at the state instead of the federal level. Several Senate Democrats applauded the administration's announcement. The Environment Committee's ranking minority member, Barbara Boxer from California, said it would require the oil and gas industry to reduce, quote, a potent source of climate pollution, end quote. She urged Congress to support Senator Christopher Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut, and Susan Collins, a Republican from Maine's 2014, quote, Super Pollutants Act, end quote, which aims to reduce methane and other short-lived emissions. Murphy also cheered the announcement, as did Edward J. Markey, a Democrat from Massachusetts, who has introduced his own leaky pipeline bill. Both sides likely won't give ground in the months ahead. The problem with the administration's strong stand is that it ignores efforts which have already identified problem areas, such as pneumatic controllers. The device's reliability varies widely, and failures are extremely hard to predict. The American Petroleum Institute said in December that it is launching a new pneumatic controller standard to develop common terms and improve emissions estimates. Others in industry, government, and academia are quietly examining the methane emissions problem in other ways. That's Watching Government for this week. In Washington, I'm Nick Snow for Oil and Gas Journal.